Weeks leading up to Tupac's death. Read this FBI report, 100 pages, right here. There was facts. Keefe D is going to trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur. This story, guys, just gets crazier and crazier. This is his third court appearance. He was arrested on September 29th for the murder of Tupac Shakur. The evidence that they have against him, he was indicted in Nevada by a grand jury. 4 pieces of evidence that they have against him. 2 are videos from The Art of Dialogue. 2 are videos from Vlad TV. These are 4 pieces of videos where he was actually self-snitching. Why does that matter? He did it because he had a proffer agreement with Californian detectives when this crime took place in Nevada. It's egregious because he's been all over these platforms talking about the death of one of America's most dear rappers of all time. I did, put out a few shorts kind of talking about the FBI report on Tupac too, which, dear viewer, is a little juicy. And here's why. The reason why it was juicy is because weeks leading up to Tupac's death, and I'll just say it right here, right now. Read this FBI report. You can find it right now. 100 pages, right here. Did a short on it, got 0 views. You want to know why? There was facts in there. In the middle of it, it talks about how Tupac was being extorted weeks leading up to his death. Eazy-E was also being extorted weeks leading up to his death. The reason why I'm taking my time is because I want to make sure that this is thoroughly looked at, because there's a lot of stuff in here. It has like handwritten notes from the actual file. And there's also, news clippings in here. You can find it right now if you want. Freedom of Information and Privacy Acts have released this, so it is made available for the public to view. Tupac was being extorted. I say all that to say this. Keefe D, y'all get on me all the time for saying it wrong. Keefe D also alleges, are y'all ready? That Diddy paid him, for a hit on Suge and Pac. The reason why, and this is all alleged, I like facts in court documents, guys. I don't like rumors. But the reason why is because allegedly Pac knew something about Diddy that Diddy didn't want anybody to know. And if you were here on my last stream, you would have seen it. Allegedly, there's a lot of fruity things that Diddy's doing. I'm just saying he makes a lot of rappers uncomfortable. How many? 50 says it all the time. Why? Because 50 is not afraid of Diddy. They are on the same level, wealth-wise, all of that. He's not afraid of him. Go check out his Twitter. Go look at all of it. 50 is not afraid to say, hey, I think there's some fruity things happening here. He said it on the Breakfast Club like 4 or 5 years ago. You have that. I showed you guys a clip of Fabulous Fab.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit.
Fab was visually uncomfortable when Diddy said some weird things. You have Ja Rule, who's like, listen, man, I don't know what's going on over here. You have T.I., who has also come out with saying some things. I say all that to say it is not that we are shading an alternative lifestyle. An alternative lifestyle is all good. But what is crazy about this is that this is against straight men. And I showed you guys last time. Diddy was on camera calling Noriega. And Jadakiss was like, don't even come over here with that. He's calling some of these men daddy. And I asked you all in my chat, is it customary for a man to call another man daddy? And all of y'all was like, no, AV, no, it's weird. If you guys know Tupac Shakur, if you are fans of him, and if Pac knew about that back then, this is the man that wrote the lyrics to hit him up, okay, after he got shot, ready to go to war. Are you serious? You think Pac wasn't ready to talk about that? So the issue is, what was Diddy hiding if he had anything to do with any of this? What did he have against Tupac? And I want y'all to think about it. If Pac knew, 50's saying it with no problem. You think Pac wouldn't put that all over his songs, made a whole 2-3 albums? Where's Mo Preem? 2 or 3 albums. Like, dude, it'll be done It's super interesting that all of this is coming out now, and I haven't even gotten to Keefe D. But the reason why I needed to give you guys that background is because of this. We know Pac would have stood on the mountaintops and told that story before 50 did, but I think it would have been on the same level as 50 Cent. Like, I'm not afraid of you. If this is out there, people will know that it's out there. Here's where the plot thickens, dear viewer. I don't even know how to say this. So allegedly, Diddy put this hit out on Suge and Pac. Here's what happens. He paid this gentleman named Zip, who was involved with Keefe D. Keefe D allegedly did this with the 3 other people in the car that are no longer here to talk about their story. That's all shenanigans, right? Keefe D is the only one left. The interesting thing, apparently Zip got the check. Diddy paid him the $100, or $100. That's what it sounds like in these days. $1 million. Diddy paid the $1 million. Allegedly, we still don't know. It is said that Zip ran off with the bread. Zip left. Zip zipped. He zipped. He was out of here. He ran. He was gone. Zip took the money. So Keefe D not only had this proffer agreement, he allegedly committed this crime. And if there was a hit, someone ran off with your money. And then you wrote a book, and then you went on Vlad, and then you went on The Art of Dialogue. And sometimes, guys, like, I'm sorry, like, I should be covering other cases on this channel, but it is just so egregious and offensive to me that this guy was allowed to run around on the internet and talk about this, and no one said anything because he thought he had a proffer deal. But the big thing with that proffer deal, Keefe D is in trouble because the third element is confidentiality, and he breached it when he started talking on those interviews. And that's not even the best part. After he was being investigated, he still was doing interviews. He got investigated. The grand jury was looking at him for indictment in July. I don't know why on God's green earth this summer, after July, he was still doing interviews on The Art of Dialogue and everywhere. On arrest day, in the back of a cruiser, shackled, still talking about this crime. Why does he do this to himself? It doesn't make any sense. Last time we were here 2 streams ago, I literally told you guys, I said, you know, he has this famous attorney in Nevada that's like a really top dog. You have to pay for that. Where did Keefe D's money go after Vlad and all these people paid him? Where did it go? Do you think somebody like that put it in the cut? Did he retain that lawyer? I wanted to see papel. Sorry guys, I'm Cape Verdean. I wanted to see paper. Where was the signed retainer, the agreement? We did not see agreement between the client and the attorney. We didn't see that. It was all puffery. They say line of Sean Diddy Combs lawsuits. It starts in 1991. So what do they say? They say in 1991 is the first instance of Diddy being involved in a settlement. It says a fledgling producer in the New York's music industry, Combs, then 22, so this is the first instance, helped promote a celebrity charity basketball event at City College that included the rapper Heavy D. So Heavy D is the first instance that we have of this. And when I quote some of these larger news outlets, one thing that I've learned in my profession, especially being in crisis communications, having a legal background, is that they cannot put this stuff out unless it's been fact checked, because they have the ability to be sued. And we've learned that with the Trump stuff over the past few years. But let's go back to the Heavy D scenario. It says a surging crowd for the oversold game led to a stampede that resulted in deaths of 9 people and injured more than 24 others. Sounds like something familiar. Has Astroworld entered the chat? You guys remember Astroworld with Travis Scott and people getting trampled? I mean, as an artist, how do you control that? But as somebody that organized the event, gotta have insurance, right? This is where the bodies start to pile up around the Diddy name. There's wrongful death and personal injury lawsuits And they did not settle this until 2000. This occurred in 1991, and the last of the lawsuits involving Diddy were settled for an undisclosed amount. Pay attention to those words, they seem to be a common theme. Fast forward. Here in 99, Combs was arrested on felony charges in New York and accused of beating rival record executive Steven Stout after a reported dispute over a music video scene in which Combs was nailed to a cross. Combs later apologized and asked the Manhattan District Attorney to drop the charges. So this is criminal, guys. But Combs reportedly agreed to pay Stout $500,000. So this is your second instance of a settlement where he actually discloses the amount. The first time there was no amount disclosed. So let's see what they keep saying about Stout here. They said in another alleged altercation, Roger Mills, now we have someone else, a Detroit-based cable TV host, accused Combs and his entourage of attacking him after he refused to sell Combs a video interview in which he was asked about his involvement in the 1997 unsolved killing of bad boy artist Christopher Wallace, known by the stage names of Biggie Smalls and the Notorious B.I.G. So the reason why Diddy's people beat this guy up is because he's just like, hey, can y'all talk about poor reporters, man? Diddy, do y'all want to talk about what happened to Biggie? And Diddy's people are like, no, man. Like, they just started beating him up. And Diddy settled. One, Diddy did not want to talk about Biggie. So he sicked the goons on this guy, allegedly. We're still in the second lawsuit. I want to see how all of this is connected. In 2001, Mills sued Combs. He alleged assault, false imprisonment, and destruction of property. A spokeswoman for Combs denied the claims and accused Mills of a blatant attempt to exploit Mr. Combs' celebrity for media attention. The case went to trial, and a 2004 jury ruled in favor of Combs on all counts. Okay, this is actually the first case that Puffy won. Let's give Puffy one, all right? We're going to give him one on this timeline. He won this case. Finally, at the end of 1999, Combs was engulfed in controversy with an arrest in which he was accused of criminal possession of a weapon after shooting at a nightclub. Combs was at a nightclub with then-girlfriend J-Lo and the rapper Shyne, whom witnesses said they saw fire a gun into the crowd. This is your evidence. Witnesses said they also saw Combs with a weapon. So apparently Diddy was packing. Shortly after the incident, police pulled over Combs and Lopez and said that they have located a firearm inside of the car. Shyne was arrested. Shyne was convicted in 2001 on 2 counts of assault, reckless endangerment, and gun possession. And he was later deported to Belize. Combs was acquitted of the weapons and bribery charges. A multi-million-dollar lawsuit filed by 3 people that were injured in the shooting was settled for an undisclosed amount in 2011. Combs declined to comment about the agreement at the time. So this one's half and half. Criminally, he wasn't liable. But civilly, these people were like, hey, did you shoot me or whatever? He did a settlement with them. So this is why it's like interesting, because there's times where he settles and there's times where he gets off or he wins. So there's that. I did skip one, so I'm going to go back to 1995. It seems very small, but is going to add to the narrative. In 1995, a limousine driver named Bobby Lemon said he was beaten by bodyguards Combs hired to protect Mary J. Blige. Lemon said the guards punched and kicked him backstage at a concert as they tried to clear the area and accused Combs of having failed to properly train his security. Lemon won the suit by default because Combs did not appear in court. His spokesperson said he didn't know about this lawsuit. Couple things. Mary J is supposed to be protected, and she was one of the biggest female R&B artists at that time. That's his job, to protect her. There's something called service of process, where if I sue you, dear viewer, I sue you, my lawyers are going to draft documents and they're going to run somebody over to your lawyers or to you and say, you have been served. So you know that you are going to court. Apparently, Diddy was served but didn't know and did not show up to court, so a default judgment was entered. That means if you don't show up or if we don't get any responses to you, sometimes judges will just do that. Be like, all right. Apparently, Diddy did get wind of it because it went on appeal, but they did require him to pay the $450,000. So that's another L. Okay, so I needed to go back to 1995. We're going to talk about Kim Porter, who was Diddy's ex-girlfriend. Looks like they were never married, but she is the mother of one of his children. She sued him for additional child support for their then 3-year-old son. They eventually got a settlement for that in family court, and then they co-parented their 4 children together, and Porter died in 2019. I don't even know why they have that in here, to be honest with you guys. Like, if we're looking at Diddy's cases, I do think you need to leave family and divorce stuff out of this, because if you're talking about his legal implications with businesses and criminal stuff, I want to see that. Granted, there's some rumors with Kim Porter. There's some videos floating around there. Let's go to 2007. A former consultant, James Sabatino, sued Puffy, this is the biggest one yet, for $19 million, alleging that Combs failed to pay him in full for a recording that he made of Biggie in Miami in 1994. In 2007, you came to court for something that happened in 1994. Big was gone in 1997, and you're still trying to find a way to get your money, and you went to Bad Boy. I mean, this suit was dismissed in 2009. Interesting. Separately, Sabatino was at the center of a fraudulent article involving Combs and the slain rapper Tupac Shakur that faced the LA Times to retract a bombshell story in 2008. This consultant was a little shady. News outlets very rarely retract stories unless they find that the stories are false, because when they are produced and shared amongst the public, you are now putting that news outlet at risk of being sued for publicizing libel, slander. So here it looks like D might have another win. And it's all around the Tupac and Biggie thing. First, this guy is saying he had a full recording of Biggie. Now he's also at the center of a fraudulent article with Pac in it. Going to another person in 2007. Diddy's been busy, man. Gerald Rassinger, a partygoer in LA, said Combs punched him in the face when he was leaving the Oscars hotel event and caused him to fly backward several feet. He claimed in the lawsuit that Combs pushed his girlfriend. An attorney for Combs disputed the complaint as just another example of an opportunist seeking to fabricate a lawsuit. Another settlement was reached in 2008. The terms and the amounts were not disclosed. I'm trying to get a feel. Does he settle when things get really hot to turn people away, or does he settle when he actually did something? Down to 2010, Francesca Sparrow, a music executive in her 50s, sued Combs for age discrimination. Dang, now we're getting at grannies. Saying that she was fired after her having worked for him since 1998. The company denied that she was let go because of her age. And again, Combs settled the multi-million-dollar suit in 2011. This lady got paid more than $1 million. For age discrimination. But notice that some of these themes, like some of them are criminal, some of them are civil, but I'm finding that a lot of them are against the business itself in Bad Boy. I just wanted to go through this so you guys can see that legally Puffy's had some challenges. A lot, apparently, a lot. Now, we have another one, 2011, Paparazzo. Gustavo Garces filed a suit in which he said Combs' bodyguards, see, this is not even Diddy, this is his bodyguards, assaulted him on New Year's Eve as he took a picture of him outside of the Dream Hotel in Miami. A settlement was reached in 2017, 6 years later, in which Garces agreed to receive $35,000 in exchange for releasing Combs, his bodyguard, and their insurance company for liability. Businesses have liability. liability insurance. That one looks like an insurance settlement. I don't think that Diddy's attorneys did this themselves. I think it was they got smart, that they knew that they needed to have business insurance. Because like, you're a paparazzi person, you're putting a camera in people's faces, like you've got to have insurance for that. But those paparazzo people get a little crazy sometimes. All right, we're almost to today's time. Let's go to 2017. Cindy Ruda, Combs' personal chef in 2015. Ruda said Combs told her to cook a post-societal meal, oh my God, and wanted to know whether she was attracted to his naked body. Diddy is wild. I mean, I think this is around the time of the freak offs. So, you know, he would get it popping or whatever, and you should be like, hey, can you bring me some food during the freak off? And then after that, are you attracted to my naked body? Like, I do think that Diddy would get lit. Like, I've seen videos of him lit, and he does look like he's a wild boy. Let's keep going. Ruda was fired in 2016, and a spokeswoman for Combs described her as a disgruntled ex-employee. She settled with Combs in 2019. The terms were not publicly disclosed. So again, you get some of these settlements where you don't know how much money these people got. And with the woman that was the chef bringing food to the freak-offs, she got paid. But Cassie comes out last week, and now all of a sudden this chef has resurfaced. Do they just want money? What is this? Okay, 2022, so last year, there was a former nanny working for Combs, Raven Wales Walden. She filed suit for wrongful termination since she told Combs she disclosed her pregnancy in 2020. She also said she was a niece of Kim Porter's. Woo! In response, filed later this year in LA County Superior Court, Combs denied that she is Kim Porter's niece and that she was discriminated against. A spokesman for Combs called the suit, which continues, a meritless shakedown to extort money from Mr. Combs. So it sounds like this group, this team is prepared for these cash grabs and shakedowns. The thing is, though, attorneys that file this stuff without proof are putting their own legal licenses at risk. I would never do it if I was licensed. Like, you can get in real trouble as a lawyer for filing baseless claims. So it's just interesting though, but a lot of these, I think we're at 70% of what we've read so far where these have settled out. The last one is Cassie's lawsuit, which included explosive allegations that Combs punched her, stomped her, kicked her over the face, all types of stuff. Starting in 2017, it spanned over a decade, so 10 years. She announced a suit, and then she had stayed silent for years, but was finally ready to tell her story and speak up on behalf of herself and for the benefit of women who face violence and abuse. The lawyer for Combs said in the decision to settle, especially in 2023, is in no way admission of wrongdoing. So the lawyer is basically saying they are not admitting that Diddy admits to any wrongdoing, but they also settled. If you go through that timeline, that's a lot of settlements.
This morning, new video showing the aftermath of those raids of the Miami and Los Angeles homes of embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs amid the firestorm of sex trafficking allegations. The video, obtained by TMZ, shows the inside of Combs' LA Holmby Hills mansion after Homeland Security investigators swarmed the home, cabinets and safes left open, papers strewn. In Miami, new photos obtained by DailyMail.com showing bedrooms turned over, drawers gone through. Sources tell ABC News guns were found in both locations and investigators seized multiple electronic devices.
That P. Diddy stuff is madness, bro.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's crazy.
That P. Diddy stuff is insane. Like, the video I just did is like literally going viral. It's almost at like 300,000 views from this morning. I posted this morning.
Wow.
But that story is insane, especially having all those macho male rappers in there.
Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr.,
Meek Mill.
Meek Mills, Usher.
Yeah.
So it's shooting up. It's looking like some Black Epstein type stuff.
Yeah, what the hell's going on? We got Fannie Willis. Our lawyers are going bad. The rappers are going bad. What the hell's going on? We need intervention right now.
Exactly. Everybody's caught up. I was like, man, I wonder if Puffy's got a recording of me down at the Intercontinental Atlanta. They got all the videos, all the tapes. I was like,
you know what's so crazy, Nate? I went to get my nails done the other day, and because of this case, I purposely avoided white nails. The day that it dropped,
Got the white nails.
I got freak off nails for 2 weeks.
Got the
Isn't it
freak
beautiful?
off nails. That is
Oh my
exactly
God.
right. So yeah, that's crazy.
It's
It's like some eyes wide shut shit. They're wearing masquerade masks, doing drugs, sex acts for multiple days. Is that Hollywood? You need to let me know if that's correct or not, man. Multiple days? God damn. Okay, keep going.
Okay. I hope you guys are sitting down.
Jesus.
Mr. Combs began to call the arrangement a freak off or FO.
We're gonna have a freak off. I gotta use that. We're gonna have a 4-day freak off. Isn't that? Shut up, puppy Combs. Yeah, man, it's getting hot in here. We're gonna have a 4-day freak off. I've never heard of this shit in my life, and I'm from Atlanta. All right, keep going.
Okay. The fan fell. Okay.
What is this?
An FO. He would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura at random moments that he wanted an FO. Miss Ventura was eventually expected to facilitate the location and the hiring of male sex workers. At certain points during Miss Ventura and Mr. Combs' relationship, he would insist on an FO weekly.
What?
Mr. Combs would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura that this practice was our thing, our secret. FOs would often take place in hotel suites, including at the Trump International Hotel in Columbus Circle, that's DC. I don't know how to pronounce that one, in Beverly Hills, the London Hotel in LA, the Intercontinental Century City, the Intercontinental in Atlanta.
Intercontinental Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
I was just at that bitch. What was it, about 4 months ago?
Hey, look at the building the same.
Shout out to the Intercontinental Atlanta. We made it, guys. We made it.
That 2 homes belonging to one Sean Diddy Combs were raided by the Department of Homeland Security. The raids were a result of a search warrant specifically targeting evidence related to the allegations of human trafficking. These allegations are grave and have understandably led to a public outcry for transparency and justice. The search warrant, while a significant step, is only a part of a broader investigation that has been building since late 2023. Before law enforcement officials are legally authorized to perform a search of a private residence, they must first establish probable cause. Black's Law Dictionary defines probable cause as a reasonable ground to suspect that a person has committed or is committing a crime, or that a place contains specific items connected with a crime. Under the Fourth Amendment, probable cause, which amounts more than a bare suspicion, but less than evidence that would justify a conviction, must be shown before an arrest or search warrant is issued. Here, the federal government was able to obtain a search warrant. The backdrop to Monday's raids is a series of allegations that surfaced in November of last year. 6 plaintiffs have come forward with accusations against Combs, detailing a disturbing pattern of misconduct. These allegations range in nature, but together paint a troubling picture that may have prompted law enforcement to take action. Cases against Diddy in the last few months include Rodney Jones v. Sean Combs. This is Little Rod, filed on February 2nd, 2024.
Sleep with him. He was promised $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wants, plus $20 million in property. Interesting. All right, you want to read this, number 15?
Yeah. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs would often switch up his approach. He would go from promising Mr. Jones the world to threatening Mr. Jones with physical harm. Diddy threatened to eat Mr. Jones' face.
Jesus.
And informed Mr. Jones that he was willing to kill his mother.
Wow.
Janice Combs, if he must get what he wanted, so he wouldn't think twice about harming Mr. Jones. In light of Diddy's detailed history of committing violent crimes, plaintiffs' fear of Mr. Combs is reasonable. And this is interesting because Gene Deal, Diddy's former head of security, mentioned recently on The Art of Dialogue that Diddy smacked his mama once or twice.
Yeah, imagine smacking your mama. I had lunch with my mama today. Like, how would you smack your own mama? Golly.
And that was like in the 90s. So the fact that you also see that here, it kind of makes what Gene Deal say, like what he's saying, a little credible. If Diddy's threatening people, like, I've hurt my mother before I hurt you.
Golly, you know, I don't know what it's like to be a parent, so y'all know better than me. But if I was like 55, and let's say my 25-year-old son, we get to arguing, and my 25-year-old son stand up, walk across, and slap me in the face, like, I might have to kill him. Like, I don't. What would you do if your 25-year-old son just slapped you, just hauled off? Now, if you're a woman, you know, what can you do, I suppose? But if you're a man and you're older, and he's 25, you're older, you're probably 55. But at what point do you stop being a man?
Yeah, and if he's 54 now, and if he's done this in his 20s, and if we're looking at this document, and if these allegations were in 2023, that means that if he smacked his mother 20 years ago, he's still threatening people, saying that if he did that to his mom, he'll definitely hurt you.
Yeah, and he, you know, Little Rod just saw the dude shoot a dude in the stomach. You know, heard the gunshots, went in there and scooped him off the ground, was holding a man in his arms that Puffy had shot. So
crazy.
If Puffy is slapping his mother, Puffy is shooting dudes in the stomach. I mean, you got to take that man seriously. You can't be like, oh no, Puffy's a square. Ain't no squares running around that are slapping their mothers and shooting dudes in the stomach.
This is why we do not, of the Cape Verdean delegation, we do not want him on these islands.
Jane Doe v. Sean Combs, filed December 2nd of 2023. Liza Gardner v. Sean Combs, filed November 23rd, 2023. This is the person that alleged that Aaron Hall was involved with this and is listed as a co-defendant. Joy Dickerson Neal v. Sean Combs, November 23rd, 2023. She accused Diddy of drugging her after a date while she was in college. Cassandra Cassie Ventura v. Sean Combs, filed November 16th, 2023, and notably settled one day after the complaint was filed. It's important to note that both for Gardner and Dickerson Neal, the New York Supreme Court is where that was filed. And one day before the deadline ended to file cases under the New York's Adult Survivors Act, the act gave victims 1 year to bring civil complaints for SA offenses that had previously been barred by the statute of limitations. Notably, Keefe D, arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur and facing trial this upcoming summer, has made public statements that Diddy offered to pay him to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. It's important to note, as we discuss these allegations, and Lord knows Diddy has so many of them, they are just that. For now, allegations. I mean, come on. Most of us do not believe that. However, in the United States, the principle of innocent until proven guilty is foundational, and it's critical we uphold this as the legal process unfolds and keep that in the back of our minds.
It's just funny because he talked about respondeat superior, and it's kind of like, you know, the employee or the boss answers for the crimes of the employee, or the company does, right? It's almost like he tried to go up the ladder and add all the defendants, right? Like even with the Love Records, you know, Motown going up the ladder to Universal, that's 3 companies where he's trying to go up the ladder and get everyone, you know?
100%. Because when you go up the ladder, what's up the ladder? Does anybody know what's up the ladder? Anybody know what's up there? Money. Money is what's at the top of the ladder. And if you can leave that ladder and then go to get on another ladder and go up there, it's even more money. and even more money.
It's Chutes and Ladders. It's legal Chutes and Ladders.
Legal Chutes and Ladders. I love that. I love that. All right, so let's keep going here. So they're saying that, the allegation that Little Rod personally saw Sir Lucian go into disappear with Sean P. Diddy Combs into Sean's room for hours can only be either a delusion or a lie. Since the exact same allegation is made in the first amended complaint as to Ethiopia.
The legal implications of these allegations and the subsequent raids are vast. If evidence supporting the claims of human trafficking is found, it could lead to serious charges against Combs. Human trafficking charges are the most severe in the American criminal justice system, carrying lengthy sentences upon conviction. But the road from allegation to conviction is long and complicated. It involves gathering evidence, possible arrests, charges, then a trial. Also notably this week, we saw Diddy's alleged drug mule arrested the day following the raid.
He was arrested for possession of cocaine and marijuana gummies, and this is unrelated to that larger investigation by the feds, but Paul is named one of several civil lawsuits filed against Diddy as a drug mule working for the music moguls.
We did see a statement issued from Diddy's attorney, Aaron Dyer, which reads, "There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained, but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way." Many legal analysts have agreed, upon reviewing this statement, Diddy fully intends to litigate his criminal investigations in court should charges be brought against him. We are going to be reacting to two things regarding the Diddy files. We're opening up the Diddy files, we're dusting them off, and of course there's a lot of heat on this today, specifically because rapper Shyne is now involved in the case. In December of 1999, you guys all remember Shyne being convicted of a shooting that took place where 3 victims at a nightclub were shot. Shyne was arrested and convicted and did approximately over 10 years for this particular crime. New footage has come out where he is now in Belize after being deported and is a politician. So what we're looking at right here is one of the 3 victims from that night. And I think it makes sense to hear her account of the story. She's recently been speaking out on TikTok about this and sharing her side of it. So that's what we're going to do first.
Hey, how you doing? So, here today about this latest lawsuit with the P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Sean Puffy Combs, whatever you want to call him, lawsuit that has come out involving the producer Little Rod. Mm-hmm. So basically his last 2 lawsuits, or last 2 major lawsuits, the one with Cassie, she made mention that Puffy made her carry his guns into nightclubs and wherever they went. Wow. And he threatened her to make her feel like she had to do so. And while there were lots of things of importance, that stood out to me. And I'm going to tell you why. In this lawsuit with the producer Little Rod, they were both SA'd by him and threatened and physically harmed. But in this lawsuit, he appears to be a very young producer to me. But he said something very specific. As a means of threatening him, Puffy said, "That's why I shot up the club in New York back in 1999 and let Shyne take the fall for it."
Wow.
Let me tell you why that's of utmost importance to me.
Tell us.
Because I am the woman who he shot in the face.
Damn.
In that 1999, December 27th, 1999, Club New York shooting. I have told everyone ad nauseum since then, even the surgeon who did the surgery to take the bullet. I got shot in my face with a 9mm hollow point bullet.
Wow.
Called a cop killer. I literally have told everyone and never changed what I said. I watched him. I got pow-powed in the face. I watched him fire the gun. I've said it all this time. Even the surgeon who did my surgery to take out part of the bullet fragments that was aspirating into my lungs and try to remove as many bullet fragments as possible testified in the criminal trial that while they were putting me under, I was screaming, Puffy, pew pew me in the face.
Wow.
He testified in the criminal trial. It is in the record. They all knew he did it. Everybody knew he did it, but he paid off the club bouncer named Sharice and all these other people and the club owners with their video to hide the video. That's his MO. I told everybody that. This man almost took my life, has traumatized my life, has caused undue harm, irreparable damage to my life, lied his behind off. I've had all these youngins on the internet harassing me.
Shout out to the youngins.
Swearing that I'm making it up that he did it. And look what he did to Little Rod. He threatened him. Oh, you don't think I bust my gun? I shot up the club in Club New York and let Shyne take the fall for it. I shot them people. Well. It only took 24 whole years
she got a tattoo
for it to come out. You see this tattoo? This commemorates me getting shot. Wow. It took 24 years for him to come out and say it. I've been saying it all along, but y'all pick and choose who y'all want to believe. Oh, baby. You ain't seen nothing yet. Not only did he pew me in the face, he also set off a course of harassment against me for the past 24 years. When I tell you the things I went through, there was a time in 2017 and 2018 where I got 7 flats on my BMW. 7, the same tire, in a 2-year span. 7.
Man.
On the same tire, and they were all new. Every time it happened, I had to get a new tire. I have the pictures to prove it. Harassing me. You want to know why? Because prior to Cassie, I was the only person to be victimized by him and then to successfully sue him and get paid.
Ooh.
And he had to pay me out of his pocket. He has never gotten over that. Oh, baby. You see this RICO charge that's about to come? This conspiring and pew-pewing up the club and ruining or attempting to ruin my life? As God as my witness, I will not stop until you suffer every single iota of punishment, until I have every second of recompense that you took from me. Ooh, for every tear that I had to cry or my children had to cry, I am going to get $1 million back from you.
Oh!
I will not stop until you pay the price for what you did to my life. And for all you people out there on the internet and in cyberspace and in the far reaches of my life or the perimeters or wherever who always like, oh, she just saying that to get some. Hell, what you got to say now? What you got to say now? I had some youngins on the internet that ain't even old enough, that weren't even alive when it happened, arguing me down, cussing me out, calling me everything but a child of God. Go check Instagram. It's there. Harassing my life.
That's awful.
Harassing me. Oh, you lying. He ain't do that to you. You just want clout. You just chasing clout. What is that to chase clout about? How is that clout chase worthy? It doesn't even make sense. Well, I guess it will make sense in this new generation, but you better believe I will have my say. I will have my say. Hashtag having my say. Hashtag the dopest nerd ever. Hashtag Ebb Talks. Y'all ain't seen or heard nothing yet.
Ooh. So, ladies and gentlemen, hearing from one of the victims is important. And I want you to keep that in mind, because what we're going to do right now is look at Shyne. And even this woman said, Diddy did it. Diddy did it. Point blank, no questions asked. Diddy did it. Witnesses can support that statement. Let's see what Shyne says.
Wounds. When you hear, the victim saying that it was Diddy that shot her, that is what is the most remarkable. Oh, you didn't see that? Okay. And that was triggered by a lawsuit from a producer that produced on the Love album, who is making accusations. And in those accusations, he says that the gentleman confessed to the shooting. And that is what stands out to me the most, because, I've done my best to put it behind me and to move forward. But it certainly reopens the wounds that I've been saying this all along. Everyone knew all along that I was the fall guy. It opens wounds. When other witnesses...
Is she accurate, sir?
I'm not going to get into that, but it does open wounds. And certainly I am relieved that people are saying what the truth is, that, I did not shoot those people. I maintain that I never shoot nobody, that there were other guns there. I always said that. That has not changed. And that is the testimony that came out. Fragments were never removed. So there was never any forensic testing to say who it was. But the victims are vindicating me. Witnesses are vindicating me. But I have moved on. I'm not trying to...
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry, but I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
I'll never hit him with no, nothing. I don't even think of no other man. Besides, if I'm thinking about another man, I'm thinking about uplifting. I'm not thinking about all that. All them gnats, they can't really touch me. Y'all, at the end of the day, y'all see and y'all know what it is. Huh? Mm-hmm. The track record. Y'all know the business acumen. Y'all know the community service. Y'all know what I'm about, and when he does that, it's like funny to me. I don't really take it personal. I know he has a different sense of humor, and he's just not in my life. We don't have to never cross paths, and I will never say nothing negative about him, because that's just not me.
It feels like something must have happened, though, like that we just don't know about behind the scenes.
He loves me.
I feel you, man. So you feel like Puffy owes you then?
I don't feel he owes me, but god damn, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Brother love, come show some love. That's all I can fucking say. Show some love, brother love. Shit. Brother, I be seeing you doing your little pretty dance and all that, man. Show some love, homie.
Sources tell CNN federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of Sean Diddy Combs before a federal grand jury. This is seen as a clear sign the Department of Justice could be moving to indict the disgraced music mogul.
We are learning now that federal investigators are in possession of video footage that was taken inside of Combs's residence. We hear that these investigators have been contacting individuals that they have seen on this footage. When the raids first happened, we had a law enforcement source tell us at CNN that the investigation was largely based in sex trafficking, which is what HSI specializes in. Now we are hearing that scope has been widened and that investigators are really looking into all of these claims put forth in these civil lawsuits. That would include not just sex trafficking, but also money laundering and illegal drugs. I have a source who tells me, quote, "This is much bigger than just these lawsuits."
Even more explosive details have emerged. Let's break it all down. Just recently, a video surfaced showing Diddy in a physical altercation with his then-girlfriend, Cassie. This video has shocked the public and added more fuel to the already intense media scrutiny. For those who may not be fully aware, Cassie and Diddy were in a highly publicized relationship that ended tumultuously. Earlier this year, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, alleging serious misconduct among other accusations. The case was settled for a reported $30 million, which many saw as an attempt to put the matter to rest. However, the settlement hasn't stopped the floodgates from opening. In fact, many have kicked in the legal door, waving the 4-4, and we are now at 8 lawsuits coming out with all types of allegations included. And the past week alone, 2 new lawsuits have surfaced, bringing the total number of lawsuits to Diddy to 8 since the Cassie settlement. These lawsuits range from allegations of inappropriate behavior to physical confrontations, painting a disturbing picture of power dynamics. Let's talk about the 2 that were filed just last week following the video being leaked. We have the lawsuit of Crystal McKinney. Model Crystal McKinney alleges that Diddy forced her to perform non-consensual acts at his New York City studio in 2003. And then, following this event, he later blackballed her in the modeling industry, which means that when she tried to find jobs, she was unable to do so. McKinney claims that this ordeal led to significant mental health issues, including depression and anxiety. The twist with this particular case is that McKinney kept DNA evidence, including bedazzled pants, preserved for 21 years.
That's a long time ago. Try to do a freak off on this girl, all right? The designer then handpicked a black leather coat with a fur hood, a translucent chiffon beige V-cut shirt, fur-lined handbag, and jewelry encrusted jeans. 2 plain bedazzled jeans. Like, you doing all this to get with Puffy, and then you gonna put on some bedazzled jeans. Okay. For Crystal to wear to the event. Due to the traumatic events to occur later, Crystal saved the unwashed clothing from that night in her closet, where they remain in a plastic wrap. Remain is present, guys.
Wow.
Oh,
They got DNA evidence. They got DNA. Damn.
You know you're in trouble. Men, you know you're in trouble if you got 3 women around the world saving your cum in the closet in a plastic bag.
For 20 years.
20 years. This is the bad side of fame. They're saving your sperm. 20 years in the closet. Is it even, man, this is tough. This is when you know you're famous.
That whole time.
Women be saving like little cards from high school and shit. No, fuck that. We saving DNA today. We ain't doing a little yearbook, I love you cards, we photos. No, fuck all of that. We're saving the DNA from those bedazzled, jewel encrusted jeans. Man, this is a tough one. Oh, and it says in her closet where they remain in a plastic. Remain is the present tense, guys. She's got that stuff from 20 years ago. All right. Combs makes promises of career advancement.
Lawsuit number 2 was filed by April Lampros. The suit filed in Thursday in New York lists Combs as well as his record company Bad Boy Records and Sony Music subsidiary Arista Records, as well as 10 unnamed defendants and 10 unnamed corporations that allegedly aided and or abetted in the alleged incidents. In the suit, Lamprose said she met Diddy in 1994 while she was a student at New York's Fashion Institute of Technology, adding that Diddy would often invite her to his recording studio to impress her and promised to serve her as a mentor. These accusations add an already troubling pattern of behavior that has been described in previous lawsuits. It's important to note that Diddy has denied all allegations and has vowed to fight these claims in court.
Accusations! These are not accusations. This is false accusation.
His legal team has issued statements calling the accusations baseless and a result of opportunistic individuals looking to tarnish his reputation. Legal experts say that the surfacing of the video could play a significant role in these cases. While settlements like Cassie's often come with non-disclosure agreements, the public nature of the video and the ensuing media attention could influence both public opinion and legal proceedings, particularly when it comes to jury selection.
Puffy began calling April incessantly and would often call her just to say, if anyone is in your apartment, I will beat your ass and theirs. I think there was an allegation that he also said this to his mama. Like he was threatening to beating his mama up, right?
Allegedly, he slapped his mother.
Jesus. I mean, on the one hand, if you slap your mama, and then on the other hand, we take the video of what he did to Cassie, that distance, right? It's just pure monster. Pure monster. I mean, you don't have respect for anybody if you slap your mama and then you do Cassie like that on the other hand. April's reasonable fear of Puffy left her feeling stuck with him and with no way out. He knew where she lived and worked and had connections to ensure her compliance with his demands. She felt that if she disobeyed him, he would take away her dreams of pursuing a career in his world. Puffy also would threaten to blacklist her in the industry if she tried to mess with him in any way. April's dream and everything she'd been working so hard for were in the palm of his hands. All right, do you want to read this one, number 3?
All right, incident number 3. One night in 1996, Diddy ordered April to his Manhattan apartment. I love it. He did it like it was like Uber Eats, like, come over, April. Diddy's residence was in the 30s Park near the Midtown Tunnel. When April arrived, Kim Porter and 2 other people were present.
Kim.
Diddy introduced the women. They went to a nightclub. After the club closed, they returned to Diddy's apartment and they began a night of drinking. A couple hours into the evening, Diddy forced Kim and April to take ecstasy.
What?
Diddy instructed the women to open their mouths. When they complied with the demand, Diddy forced the pill down their throats to ensure the pills were swallowed. Diddy's hands were so far down April's throat she gagged. He even checked under their tongues.
Jesus, and I think is this the first time that Kim Porter has come up in any?
Yes.
Man, Kim is now making an appearance.
But Kim is no longer on this plane. She has passed on.
Jesus. All right. 51 or 50? Okay, yes, you're right.
Okay. Wow. R.I.P. Kim. Whew. With the combination of alcohol and ecstasy, April recalls feeling lightheaded and lethargic. After being forced to take ecstasy, Diddy then demanded Kim to have intercourse with April.
Oh, hell no.
God damn it. Tyrone.
What?
Oh my God.
What? April and Kim were having sex.
Federal Homeland Security investigation agents raided Diddy's Miami and LA homes in March, though the purpose of the raids remain unclear.
Now to a CNN exclusive, the Department of Justice may be taking steps to indict music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Two sources close to the investigation tell us that a federal grand jury may soon hear from Diddy's accusers. Since November, Combs has been named in 8 civil lawsuits, 7 of them directly accusing him of sexual assault. CNN entertainment correspondent Elizabeth Wagmeister is here with more on her exclusive reporting.
We have learned from 2 sources that potential witnesses have been contacted and notified by federal investigators that they may be called to testify in front of a grand jury. Now, there is no timeline for when this may happen. We are hearing from sources that the investigation is very much still underway. We remember back in late March when 2 of Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami were raided. That was the start of this criminal investigation. And now, with our reporting that this could go to the grand jury, this is absolutely the biggest escalation in this investigation and gives some indication that authorities are looking towards a possible indictment. Now, as you mentioned, there have been a slew of lawsuits against the music mogul. He faces 8, 7 of which are directly accusing him of sexual assault. I hear from a source that many of these accusers who have filed these civil suits have been brought in for questioning, some of them being called in numerous times. We hear that many of these potential witnesses have been cooperating with these investigators, some even offering up evidence that they believe could be of note for this investigation.
I turn myself in. Sometimes you gotta face the music. That's most of the time.
Wow.
Perfect.
Look at this.
I'm gonna give you some real advice. 2 quick things.
That's him on Halloween.
You gotta make a decision. When you go to prison, either you're gonna be standing up pissing or squatting sitting down pissing. I advise you to try to take the first one. Because if you're squatting pissing on the seat, you know what that means. Oh yeah, by the way, do not do your time going by Brother Love. Brother Love is not a good code name for prison. I'm out.
As we continue to monitor this situation, it's clear that the legal battles are far from over. We will keep you updated on any new developments as they unfold. For now, it's crucial to understand the gravity of these allegations and the impact that they may have, not only on those directly involved, but the broader conversation about power and accountability.
When he has proven that he's a liar, he has proven that he's willing to hide the truth and he can't be trusted, and his word is nothing no more. Anything that somebody says against him is going to be considered the truth, bro. Anybody could come out and say that he did this and he did that, whether wrong, right, or indifferent. Anybody could say that now because he's lied to the public for so long.
The boy Puffy called me though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me. He was like, "I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's. I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to man, let you know that I have nothing to do with your brother's death." Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me? Because LA Times, it was in the early 2000s. LA Times had just dropped an article in the newspaper implicating him as well. I told him I appreciate the call, but the truth is yet to come out, so we gonna see.
You mean to tell me it's a bunch of people sitting around right now just waiting for their phone to ring because they in them tapes?
I'm sure. And I'm sure, and you know they got to be celebrities because if it's just a regular person, they're not going to know who the regular person is. So I'm sure they're probably reaching out to celebrities, right?
What is on those tapes? And it's so crazy because Suge Knight told us Diddy like to be all up in the video.
Federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of Sean P. Diddy Combs before a federal grand jury, indicating a potential move towards seeking an indictment. Witnesses, including those who have filed lawsuits against Combs, may testify in New York City. This development marks a significant escalation in the investigation, which involves 8 civil lawsuits accusing Diddy of SA, one of which has been settled. While Homeland Security has declined to comment on some of the news that is breaking this week on the grand jury, sources indicate that the investigation is thorough and ongoing. Evidence is still being gathered to ensure any potential indictment is well supported. Federal investigators are intensifying their investigation into Diddy, with sources confirming that accusers have been repeatedly questioned. And they are actively cooperating, providing evidence they believe is relevant. The investigation, which began with the raid in LA, the raid in Miami, that took place in March simultaneously, now encompasses the allegations of trafficking, but what's new is money laundering and illegal drug activities. Despite Diddy's denials and claims that the accusations are attempts at a quick payday, then we got an apology. The scope of the investigation has broadened significantly, with new witnesses being brought in for questioning to support the claims. A grand jury is a body of people who are chosen to sit permanently for at least a month and sometimes a year, and who in ex parte proceedings decide whether to issue indictments based off of Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure Rule 6. If a grand jury decides that evidence is strong enough to hold a suspect for trial, it returns a bill of indictment charging the suspect with a specific crime. Prosecutors have a substantial amount of time to sit in front of a grand jury and present them with evidence. If that grand jury, because it is a large body of people, if they feel that the evidence is strong enough for an arrest and a trial, an indictment will be issued. This happened just a year ago around this time with the Tupac murder trial. Ultimately, this led to Keefe D's arrest. Keefe D was being investigated. The case went in front of a grand jury. They chose to indict him in the summer. I believe it was sometime around July, and we saw an arrest in September. Speaking of Tupac, Diddy initially admired Tupac Shakur for his blend of street credibility and mainstream success. Diddy even attempted to build a friendship with him.
Overthrow the government y'all got right now, which is bad boys and all that bullshit, and we will bring a new government here that will feed every person in New York.
But Shakur rejected him, viewing Diddy as a corny executive. The relationship between Shakur and Combs deteriorated dramatically after Shakur was shot at Quad Studios in 1994, an incident Shakur blamed on Combs and the Bad Boy Records crew. This accusation fueled the infamous East Coast, West Coast rivalry, with Diddy allegedly stroking the conflict through provocative music releases. The feud escalated until Tupac's tragic murder in 1996, for which Diddy was indirectly blamed by Suge Knight, although Diddy denied any involvement. The rivalry between Bad Boy Records, led by Diddy, and Death Row Records significantly impacted the notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls. Biggie and Tupac's relationship soured after Tupac's 1994 shooting, leading to Biggie's controversial release of Who Shot Ya? This track was perceived as a taunt, escalating the feud. Despite not desiring to conflict with Tupac, Biggie was drawn into the rivalry. His murder in 1997, widely viewed as a retaliatory act, occurred just as he was reportedly planning to leave Bad Boy Records. Combs' handling of Biggie's album after he passed drew criticism for capitalizing on his death. Lastly, in this week's news, we need to talk a little bit about 50 Cent's trolling and how it suddenly stopped.
You gonna do? Shoot me in the elevator?
Netflix has acquired a documentary about the SA allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, produced by rapper 50 Cent, after a fierce bidding war. Multiple networks and streaming services have been vying for the series since 50 Cent, whose real name, of course we know, is Curtis, began hinting at the project several months ago. Curtis, who frequently takes pleasure on his rival's scandals, confirmed the Netflix deal in an Instagram post, noting that additional episodes might be needed if more victims come forward. 50 Cent has been a master at trolling Diddy over these past few months. In fact, that's where I get a lot of my news, is just scrolling through his feed. Every single Diddy post that he had has now been miraculously deleted. So we can tell from an inference from the outside that some of that is likely connected to the deal going forward.
My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee.
This is Cassie.
As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy.
There it is.
He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s
Oh my God.
and a large capacity drum magazine.
What?
They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs
They found the
with multiple
tapes.
victims.
They found the tapes.
And they seized cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs. More than 1,000 bottles altogether.
Oh my God. Ew.
Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches.
Oh, don't show it to us. Are you going to show it to us? Oh my
As you
God.
can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity.
Yo.
It contains, I believe, 59 rounds.
Yo, Diddy's done, guys. Look at this. Look at the style of the case. This is coming from the Department of Justice. It says United States versus Sean Combs. This is serious. Wowzers.
I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there. Now, I want to be clear about 2 things. First, this office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City.
Ooh.
Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
Wow.
Second, we are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly. Anyone with information can call 1-877-4-HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them. I also want to thank the dedicated case agents on the HSI Trafficking in Person Squad in New York. They have been with us since day one and have worked tirelessly on this investigation. They will continue to be invaluable partners to us. I also want to thank the incredible agents and analysts from SCNY who have also provided tremendous assistance on this case. I'm deeply grateful for their continued work. And finally, I want to thank the outstanding career prosecutors from SCNY who are handling this case. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Chrissy Slavic, Madison Smeisler, and Mitzi Steiner. and their supervisors, Jamie Backleeper and Jacqueline Kelly. They are members of the Civil Rights Unit in our criminal division. We created the Civil Rights Unit when I became U.S. Attorney. I'm deeply proud of their work on this and so many other cases. I'll now take some questions.
Eric Katursky, ABC.
Thanks, Nick. Damian, thanks. The indictment describes aggressive, open, violent, hedonistic abuse that you say was recurrent and widely known. Why did it take law enforcement so long to intervene? How many women were victimized by Sean Combs, and how many others were involved?
Look, our investigation is ongoing. We are committed to bringing justice to everyone who's been victimized by the defendant. I can't tell you why it took so long. I think the better focus is on the fact that we are here today. And we are committed to making sure that justice is done. Next question.
Thank you. Julia Ainsley, NBC.
Thank you for doing this. You said we are not done and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
I like this guy.
What's the difference between the sex trafficking and promoting travel for the purpose of prostitution?
Well, there are different crimes with different elements. I don't think we should get into the nitty-gritty of the legal discussion right now, but the sex trafficking, we believe, they're all serious offenses, but the sex trafficking conduct carries some significant penalties, and we are gratified that we were able to bring that charge. I'm not going to be able to get into that, but you can look it up, and yes, sex trafficking, especially when it involves coercion or force, is a very serious crime, and it carries significant penalties.
Good afternoon, Darla Miles, ABC7 New York. Thank you for this press conference and for the details. 2 questions. In context of this indictment and the information that was presented to the grand jury, are you able to clarify the number of victims? It's mentioned plural in the indictment, but can you specify the number of victims just for this particular indictment? And secondly, can you provide details about the alleged arson?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to provide either. The number of victims,
I want to know about the arson.
We are intentional in saying multiple. The details of the arson incident are limited to what we have in the indictment and also the detention letter that we filed, which contains more details than the indictment does at various points. But we don't have anything more beyond that. Next question.
Lynn Tran, CNN.
Are any of his accomplices or associates under investigation? And additionally, could he face any more charges?
So the investigation is ongoing. That means both as to him and to anyone else who we believe committed the crime with him. Next question.
Juliet Papa.
Hi, good morning from 1010 Wins. Any indication that some of the women or victims here were imprisoned in his residences, and did he have locations where he kept them, and did they were not allowed to leave? And also, he's indicted here, although there were searches and raids in LA, Miami. Why in New York?
Well, I'm biased. I'm the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. I think that we have an outstanding track record of bringing some of the most impactful, sprawling, complex, difficult sex trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking, you name it. The Southern District of New York can do it, and so we're very proud of that. And so the scope and complexity of this investigation isn't something that we ran from. It's something that we embrace, and we will continue to do that.
This is what a real
As to your question about whether he imprisoned anyone, all I can say is that, I mentioned this March 2016 incident where something was caught on video where a victim was attempting to flee, and there was violence that was associated with it. That was at a hotel.
Matthew Lee, Inner City Press.
Thanks a lot. Does your office intend to seek remand, or are you reaching a bail package? And if you're willing, how would you contrast this with the R. Kelly case in EDNY in terms of the elements? Thanks.
So we will be seeking detention. We have filed a letter laying out our reasoning for seeking pretrial detention. I'm not going to be able to expand beyond what's in the letter, but it contains all of the reasoning, and it contains the law as well. There is a presumption of detention in a case like this, and we think that's warranted.
I don't
John
think
Anise,
they're going to
New
give
York
it
Daily
bail.
News. Thank you. I was hoping to get some more detail about the searches of his residence, the guns, the cases of lubricant, and the videos. Where were they found amongst his residence? Were they all scattered around the houses in one place? I kind of wanted to just get a better picture of how that stuff was found.
Well, look, I think that some of the details that you're seeking are in the detention letter. So, for instance, some of the AR-15s, 2 of the 3 defaced AR-15s were found in his bedroom closet in Miami, broken down into parts, along with magazines, with ammunition loaded in them. So, some of that detail is in the detention letter. Beyond that, I'm not going to be able to get into where other items were stored.
Ben Kochman, Post.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Your office was the office that had been prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein before he died in custody. I have not read your detention memo yet. It's the first thing I'm going to do after this ends. But does the memo address, or is your office concerned with Combs's safety in custody, given what happened with Epstein?
So we are concerned with anyone's safety whenever they are detained prior to trial. It's part of our obligations to keep people safe as well. It's part of the criminal justice system. So, but I do not draw any sort of connection between Jeffrey Epstein's suicide and what may or may not happen to any other defendant while they are detained pre-trial. And of course, the decision whether to detain the defendant will be up to a judge. Our position is that pretrial detention is warranted under the law and based on the facts of this case. And I'll leave it at that.
Are some of the prosecutors on this case some of the same prosecutors that had been handling that or that worked on the Maxwell case?
So I'm not going to get into the staffing. I will say that this team, this group of AUSAs, this incredible group has been working on this case around the clock, and they've had their hands full. Next question.
Gus Rosendale, NBC News.
Good morning, sir. Combs' attorney said that his client has been cooperative with investigators. He said that this morning. I was wondering if you would have a reaction to that.
Let me just say this. I think that generally and with increasing frequency, the word cooperative or cooperating has taken on tremendous elasticity, and it no longer really bears any relation to what the word means when we use it in a very specific context. So responding to lawful process and the like does not qualify as cooperation when we use that term here.
Mike Sisak, AP.
Thanks. To that end, was there any discussion of Mr. Combs surrendering? I understand he was taken into custody at a hotel in Manhattan last night, and maybe that wasn't the plan. Can you elaborate on how that came about and why that was?
I'm not going to be able to get into any sort of operational details as to how he was taken into custody and when. He is in custody right now. He will be appearing in court later today.
Was there any discussion of surrendering, given they claim he's cooperating?
I'm not going to be able to get into law enforcement tactics or operations.
Is he a big deal? How come they're not charged out?
Well, I can't get into the charging decision. It is very meaningful to us that weapons were possessed, as we allege in the indictment. Part of the reason why this conduct was so pervasive and harmful was because victims and others didn't necessarily feel comfortable denying him his wishes, as we allege, because of the presence of firearms. I should leave it there.
Thanks. Last question, Jacob Shamison.
Jacob Shamsian, Business Insider. Thank you. Given that he's the sole defendant in this case and that you allege he's part of a conspiracy that involves members of his companies, do you anticipate a superseding indictment that bring allegations against other members of his companies or other co-conspirators as well?
I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing. And I think a lot of you who cover this office know that when we say such things, that developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Let's look at the actual indictment. This comes from the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. So it's the United States of America versus Diddy. Just him. So it is a little bit different as far as the racketeering conspiracy. It's different in a shape or form of RICO that we've seen applied to Trump, RICO that we're seeing in YSL, but here we're seeing RICO against Diddy. For decades, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him for his desires to protect his reputation and conceal his conduct. To do so, he relied on employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, amongst other crimes, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Diddy, the defendant, operated his business headquartered in various times in Manhattan and LA under a variety of United States corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, and corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a TV network and media company. At all times in this indictment, Diddy, the defendant, engaged in persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of the pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of SA with male commercial sex workers. At times, Diddy and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial workers to fly to Combs' location. Diddy ensured participation from the women, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation. Physical abuse is included in there by Diddy, the defendant. He was recurrent and widely known on numerous occasions, at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years. He assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects, kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others, including one instance at the LA hotel. That's the Cassie video, which was later publicly reported. Diddy, the defendant, used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, cover up this abuse. Those employees, including security, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Diddy's control of his business. In or about 2008, through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, Diddy, the defendant, and others known and unknown were members of associates of a criminal organization. Members and associates of Diddy's enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation of purposes of prostitution, coercion, enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The Combs enterprise, including its leaderships, its members, and its associates, constituted as an enterprise, as defined by Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 1961(4). That is, groups of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs enterprise consisted of Diddy, the defendant, and entities within the business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Combs Enterprises. The Combs enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit Combs Enterprise was engaged in, and its activities affected interstate and commercial commerce. The Combs Enterprise operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. At all times relevant to this indictment, the defendant was a leader of Combs Enterprise. The defendant and others, known and unknown, participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs Enterprise affairs. These individuals included Diddy's employees, such as members of his security staff, household staff, personal assistants, supervisors, as well as close associates. The purposes of the Combs Enterprise included A, operating a global business in the media, entertainment, lifestyle, including, amongst other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits, marketing agency, sha-la-la-la-la, TV network, all of that stuff. Preserving and protecting and promoting and enhancing power, reputation, and brand of Diddy. The defendant is a musician, entrepreneur, and figure in the entertainment industry. C, enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leader, in particular those who demonstrated loyalty to Diddy and willingness to conceal his crimes. D, preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of Diddy, including the power of its leader, Diddy, through the violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. Fulfilling the personal desires of Diddy, enabling him and others associates of the Combs enterprise to engage in unlawful acts of violence, securing loyalty from people, protecting the enterprise. Now, it talks about the means and methods of the enterprise. There's intimidation, threatening in here, luring female victims. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced performances that Diddy arranged, directed, and pleasured himself, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Diddy, with the assistance of members and associates of the enterprise, transported and caused to be transported sex workers from across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple sex workers. During freak-offs, Diddy distributed a variety of controlled substance to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Unbeknownst to the victims, Diddy kept the videos. After the freak-offs, Diddy and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Members of the enterprise included, the security staff, supervisors, personal assistants, and other people facilitated the freak-offs by booking hotel rooms, stocking the hotel room with freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate the room damage, arranging travel for the victims, and then Diddy to and from the freak-offs, resupplying Diddy with the requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Diddy to pay the sex workers, scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. And during the raid in March, it looks like law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Diddy subjected victims to all types of abuse to engage in freak-offs. He maintained control over his victims through physical violence, promises of career opportunities. During and separate from freak-offs, Diddy, among other things, hit, kicked, and threw objects at and dragged victims, at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted into injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Diddy also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods. The victims believed that they could not refuse his demands without risking their financial or job security without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. Diddy also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings of the freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience of the victims. Members of the enterprise, including Diddy's personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Diddy himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others, including the victims. During the raid in March, both in LA and in Miami, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15. This is RICO applied on a federal level. From at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of filing this indictment, the Southern District of New York, Diddy, the defendant, and others known or unknown persons being employed by and associated with, described in paragraphs 6 through 12, engaged in activities that affected interstate and foreign commerce with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States. That is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through the pattern of racketeering. Here's what that consists of. So they are outlining how Diddy himself and his enterprise engaged in RICO. So 1, multiple acts involving kidnapping. 2, multiple acts involving arson. I just thought it was 1. But there's more than one act involving arson. It isn't just about Kid Cudi. 3, multiple acts involving bribery. 4, multiple acts indictable under Title 18 related to tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. Next, multiple acts indictable, and this is related to forced labor. Next, related to sex trafficking. Next, related to transportation and inducement for travel of purposes of prostitution and other illegal activities. Next, distribution and possession with the intent to distribute and conspiracy to do the same. This is drugs. Look at all the drugs that are up here. Cocaine, oxycodone. I can't even pronounce some of that stuff. Meth. Wow, ketamine. Defendant agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise. In or about 2019, including 2018, the Southern District of New York, as part of this agreement to conduct and participate in the conduct and affairs of the Combs enterprise. So they've been watching him since 2009. The defendant agreed to, in and affecting interstate foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, advertise, maintain, patronize, and solicit by any means of a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact of the means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion. Any combination of such means could be used to cause a person to engage in commercial sex acts. That was just count 1, guys. Count 2 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. Victim 1. So there's 1 victim here that they are going to try to conceal. Count 3, the transportation to engage in prostitution. Forfeiture allegations. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to Title 18, United States Code Section 1963, any and all interest the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18. That is crazy. They're taking all his stuff. Any and all interest in securities of, claims against, and property or contractual rights of any kind affording a source of influence over the enterprise, named and described herein, which the defendant established, operated, controlled, conducted, and participated in the conduct of Title 18, and any and all property constituting and derived from the proceeds obtained directly and indirectly of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. They're taking all his money. As a result of committing the offense alleged in counts 2 of this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States any and all property, real and personal, involved in, used, or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of said offense, and any and all property traceable to such property, and any and all property, real and personal, constituting or deriving from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as result of the said offense. That's it. They came for all of it. That is your Diddy update, y'all.